Hi folks, welcome to another episode of Tweezers Tech. Today we're going to be looking at my first pair of truly wireless earbuds, looking at something specifically for the gym. If you're like me, you've probably been using something like this in the past. Now, these were what we classed as wireless earphones back in the day, but to be honest, that's not really the case. I'd say they're more cordless. But these seem to be the most popular style of earphones that you would typically use at a gym if you didn't have a headphone jack, etc. And they do the job, but when you're doing things like skipping or boxing, things like that, these pieces here just end up hitting you in the face. So basically these things are a bit useless. So I've been looking around and looking at a few different wireless earbuds. The first thing that got me interested in is the Galaxy Buds were announced. I have got those on the way to me, and I'm going to do a comparison video between these and the Galaxy Buds. I looked at the Galaxy Gear Icon X, I looked at the Bose Sound Free Sport, I think the Jabra, and there's quite a few out there, and everyone seems to have different features, and I think it's down to a personal preference in terms of fit, durability. But the thing for me is I wanted something that was suitable for the gym and had decent battery power. So what do we have out of this case? Now, just to warn you in advance, this is actually quite a stubborn case to open. And you can see I struggled there a little bit. That's probably a good thing though, rather than a bad thing, because a lot of these cases, once they open, they have their own Bluetooth signal that sort of links up the phone. So it's probably best that it is a bit of a stiff thing to open rather than a loose fit. Now this is obviously the color combo is something that really attracted me to these earbuds with I think it's like a copper color with a matte blue finish, and it's got that nice smooth matte texture as well. That I do tend to go for in black, but I figured I'd go for something a bit different. I do believe you can get these in 3 other colours, or possibly 2. Now, in this instance, if you're not familiar with earbuds, you have what's classed as a master earbud and a slave earbud, which means you can only have one of them as sort of a hands-free call at one at a time. Obviously, you can use them both, but if you wanted to use just one, it's always going to be the right one in this instance, and it doesn't give you the option to choose the left or the right. So in this instance, this is the master one and this is the slave one. Once you take them out, I don't know if you noticed, I'll try again. If you pop it out, it should go green, and that shows obviously there's decent battery in that one. Take this one out, it's green also, and you can see where the batteries are sort of linked up there. Now it would be nice to have a sort of a magnet to keep them in place a bit more, because it's not really that obvious as to where these go. You have to fiddle around with them a little bit. But we'll leave them there for now. Now, what do these come with in terms of stats? We're talking, I believe, up to 5 hours playtime. I've had about 4.5 at maximum volume, which is pretty good. Now, in the actual pack itself, it gives you the option to quick charge these. I think it takes just under 15 minutes, and it gives you an hour and a half. But in total, you get an extra 10 hours of charge in here. So you're talking about 15 hours of actual listening to these things. I don't think it's going to be exactly 15 hours. And I've only used these for a few days, so I can't verify if that's the case. But as advertised, it does say up to 15 hours. Now, it's IP56 on the dustproof and water resistance, which means it's not something you could submerge into a swimming pool. But if you're going to sweat, if you're going to run in the rain, you have no problems. So IP56, just to clarify. What else do we have? So I mentioned rapid charge. The 4 mics. Yes, so this is quite important. So you've got 2 mics. Don't know if you can see. Let's have a look. Oh, there they are. So we've got the microphones on here, and basically one is for the noise cancellation and the other is to sort of pick up sounds to actually listen to, and I'll cover that in a minute. But there is a mode. Let's see, I think it's called it's called hair-through mode. The idea being is if you're out commuting or if you're jogging and you want to be aware of your surroundings, you can adjust how much of the surrounding noise is actually involved in your music. So you can actually hear the traffic, you can hear people talking, train announcements, and the idea is it kind of uses the microphones to bring that into your music, which is really handy, and you can adjust how much of that you actually want involved in your music, and I will go through that very shortly with the app. These actually come with Bluetooth 5.0, which is actually double the bandwidth of the previous version of Bluetooth, which is 4.2, and in having that as an advantage is also in terms of the distance that you can stay away from your phone. Now it's been advertised that you can up to I don't know, potentially walk away from your Bluetooth device up to 100 feet, I believe. Now I've gone up to 80 foot and I had a little bit of a dropout but I think it varies. 80 foot is pretty decent, but apparently you can go up to 100, but I've not completely tested that. So for me personally, that's great when I'm playing basketball and doing such other activities. It comes in quite handy to have that version of Bluetooth, so it's a huge advantage. I wouldn't really consider getting anything under Bluetooth 5.0. Now, pairing up is easy enough. It's as easy as pairing any Bluetooth device. I took them out, went to my Bluetooth settings, and added it as a trusted device. So, it pairs up with no issues whatsoever. Now, the application that I recommend that you download, I think it was, let's have a look, Jabra Sound Plus. And you can basically tweak a lot more preferences. You have things like surrounding audio. And I mentioned about hear-through. Once you turn that on, that brings the ambient noises coming from outside into your music, so you're more aware of your surroundings. Let's see what else we've got. Music equalizer. Obviously here you can play around with the presets, adjust your equalizer according to the music that you're listening to, and it is a very handful feature to have. I fully recommend using that. Let's see what else we got. Call experience. Now, side tone is a feature where you can actually hear your own voice within the phone call, which is a bit trippy at first, but it is quite nice to hear, because a lot of Bluetooth devices you feel like you have to speak a bit louder and raise your voice a little bit. When you hear your own voice in a conversation, you kind of have that reassurance that that person can hear you. And on the few calls that I've made, I've had no complaints. It's not always been that obvious that I've been using a Bluetooth device. If anything, I've been told that it sounds just like I would normally sound on the phone. So that's quite handy to have. You have the option to have more treble, more bass. I'm not sure why you would do that in a phone call, but it's there if you want it. With headset assistance, now I mentioned on the buttons, actually I didn't mention, on the right one you've got a multitasking button, or a kind of like a one button that does it all kind of thing. Now if you press it once it plays, if you press it again it pauses, you press it once to answer and end up calls. The other thing it does is if you double click it, I believe it goes to hear-through mode. Let's double check. Yeah, on surrounding, let's have a look. So you can see there it basically activates hear-through mode and turns it off if you double click it. If you hold on to it for 2 seconds, in this instance I've got Google Assistant, but you do have the option to use Siri or Alexa. Now when I set this up initially, it did actually allow me to use Bixby as well, but let's be honest, who uses Bixby? Okay, so let's have a look at some of the media apps when using this application. I've noticed no lag. All the audio is synced with the Bluetooth, so there's not been any issues there. I'll give you a couple of demonstrations. If I press play on this, now the volume's fairly loud. You can probably hear that. See these two buttons here on the left one. Push that down. That does the volume. Push the other one. Volume up. Now if you want to skip a track, you hold on to the right one, press it again. Just try that a couple more times, hold on to that button. Like I said, it does take a couple of seconds for it to actually skip tracks, and if you press the opposite one, that will just rewind. So I'll give you an example. I'll play this song a little bit. Turn it up. If you want to rewind it, just hold on to that button. Pretty straightforward. One other feature this does have is auto pause. Now you can see I've got the earphones close to each other. When they're in the ears, if you take one out or move them away, auto pause, bring it back, and so on. Do a little demonstration with YouTube, just watching the new Endgame trailer. So same kind of thing, press that to pause, press it to play, volume up or volume down, auto pause, bring it back. Now I don't think it works that well with Netflix. So this is a Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Netflix. Plays just fine, pauses just fine. Let's try it, auto pause. Seems to work. But it doesn't seem to, oh no, it is resuming. Try that again. A bit closer. See, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that could be down to the app support. I don't think it's an issue with the actual earbuds. But you know, these are various media apps that shows how it works, and it's quite handy. The only thing with these earbuds is that you have to actually, when you put them in the air, you have to turn them slightly to lock in place, so they don't come out of your ear as easy as the Apple iPod thingies, whatever they're called, AirPods. Sorry. So those just come out of your ear quite easily, but they don't fit as snug as these do. But you do have to lock them in so they don't come out as easy. One thing I did want to do is try out the Google Assistant. I did show you that it works, but I'm just going to try it out quickly and give an example. See if it works all right. What time is it? That didn't seem to work. Let's try again. What time is it? Let's give it another shot. What's the weather like today? Okay, well that seems to work, and obviously the first time I tried that was a bit temperamental. I haven't quite mastered it. But I think I've gone through, you know, most of the features of the earphones. I think the only thing I don't really like is the controls over here. You can see that the controls are quite small, and when you have these in your earbuds, you find yourself pushing them into your ear quite often, and it is really uncomfortable. I think I would prefer swipe gesture controls if I'm being picky, but to be honest, in my instance, I'm probably just going to use my Galaxy S3. This will probably, you know, control most of the things I need anyway. I think I have the media control on this. Let's have a look. I think I've got this connected, have I? No, but basically I would use this rather than these controls. But obviously if you haven't got a smartwatch, these controls are a bit uncomfortable. So if that's going to be an issue for you, then I would reconsider. These are the only real main issues I have with the earbuds. The case itself is obviously durable. It's kind of strange because a lot of cases tend to sort of stay in one place. And this is the first time I've actually got it to stand up right, because typically I'd hold it up and it would just roll around like this, and it's quite hard to manage, quite fun to play with, I suppose. But other than that, it's not the perfect design. I do like the texture of it, but maybe if that was more of a square shape so it could stand up right. That's it. It's like a minor complaint, not even that important really. I mentioned it was micro USB. Type-C would be better, but this has got fast charging on it, so it's not an issue for me either. It's quite durable and it fits in my pocket. Got no issues with it. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I'll finish off with just a bit of footage me actually wearing the earbuds so you can see what they look like. Stand by. Right, so here we are. Got them fitted in nicely. Just going to show you that you do have to sort of twist them in a little bit. So you pop it in like that, and then a little turn, and they fit really well. I have used these at a gym for the last week. Like I said, they're sweat proof, dust proof. You know, the IP56 rating does really help. I'll do a little test, shake my head a little bit. These things aren't coming out. I've done boxing, I've done skipping, I've done running, a lot of jumping exercises, and you can see they are quite a nice fit. So overall, I'm happy with these earbuds. I've got the Galaxy Buds getting posted to me later on this week, so I will review those, and maybe I'll do a comparison video and make a decision as to which ones I'm going to hold on to. But at the moment, I'm happy with these ones. They did cost me, I think, £150 from Amazon. I'll let you know, in a week's time or so, whether I think £150 is worth that. But stay tuned to my next video. I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode of Tweefers Tech. Take care.